Hello and welcome to this hobby health video where we take a deeper look into what I consider the inappropriately named pile of shame and how we can look at it in a better light. At some point, every hobbyist will accumulate more kits than they have time or space for, to be honest. This has come to be considered the pile of shame. But why is it considered a shame? Why is it seen in such a negative light? This characterization of your collection of unbuilt or unpainted miniatures as a pile of shame, for the most part, can begin to feel overwhelming for anyone, whether you're struggling with ill mental health or not. And let's face it, the negatives of the pile of shame range from buyer's regret to the guilt of having unfinished miniatures laying around. It can depend on a person's mindset in general, or can change depending on the day. It all comes down to how the individual perceives it. So how can we look at the good old pile of shame in a positive light? Well, firstly, you're not running out of miniatures to paint anytime soon. But seriously, that pile of potential, as I prefer to call it, leans into a major aspect of the hobby, the potential of creativity. I have lost count of how many times I have had a spark of inspiration and dove into my pile in search of bits. This has then led to a miniature, a unit, and in some cases an entire army in the blink of an eye. That spark can be somewhat limited if you don't have choices available to you. Now, I'm not saying go out and buy up every box of your favourite unit right this very instant, but there is still that possibility. That spark of inspiration is so overwhelming that you have to have the parts, you have to have that model, or you feel like you absolutely need to do a conversion or a bits batch just to make something a little bit more characterful, put your own spin on something, or even just for fun. But maybe we can use this outlook in a way that changes the shame to opportunity. Not everyone will have the same opinion or outlook on the pile of shame, and that's okay. And whether you're looking for a positive way of looking at it or simply vindication for all them unopened boxes you own, the creative aspect, the possibilities it can yield, is a good place to start. Further to this, for many within the hobby, simply collecting vast amounts of miniatures, whether they use them immediately or not, is like a whole other hobby in on itself. I'm sure many of you have seen memes doing the rounds over the years about how collecting books and reading books are two different hobbies. Maybe it's time to see the pile of miniatures in the same way. I myself notice a certain feeling of apprehension once my pile gets below a certain level, because I'm running out of things to paint. I paint depending on my mood, so if something is unavailable because I don't have it in stock, so to speak, this leads to a list of tasks I have to undertake in order to have this again. Whether that is arranging transport, dealing with money, having to leave the house, all of which can be daunting when you suffer from ill mental health. By having a pile of potential, you can circumvent these additional tasks. When it comes to the opportunity that the pile presents, we have only to look at more recent releases. I know a number of people who have, over the years, built up a stockpile of Eldar and Tau miniatures, and now that they are getting new miniatures and a codex, this brings them to the forefront as their interest in that faction once again peaks. This can lead to a rush to our systems, much like, or in fact an actual dopamine hit, rediscovering boxes of miniatures that we may have forgotten we had, or finally putting into play a project that we've been holding off on for whatever reason. With further opportunities coming from the change in types of miniatures you are painting. Maybe you've been painting Marines for 6 weeks straight, for example, and you feel like painting something different. That pile of shame, or pile of opportunity, as some call it, could possibly hold a nice change of pace. Palette cleanser, as it were, which in turn helps when you are feeling like you may be struggling. Because although I'm a firm believer in positive mental health through the medium of painting miniatures, there is only so long you can paint the same miniature before it begins to feel a bit stale and no longer aids you as a coping mechanism. With all this in mind, wouldn't it be better looking at the pile of shame for what it truly is? A pile of opportunities, a pile of potential, that can lead to furthering as a coping mechanism. You know, you're looking at expanding on existing skills, be it bitch bashing or conversions, painting, and just general creativity and fun. I hope you've all found this video insightful and in some way helpful, and I'm looking forward to creating more of these videos as the months go on. Thank you very much. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this topic in the section below. Bye.